American soccer fans, welcome to episode 168 of the USA Soccer Cast. We're bringing you everything about the U.S. national teams, the players, the leagues, and everything else that impacts the game of soccer in the United States. I'm Donald Wine. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2026. This could be the most important year in American soccer history. It will certainly be the busiest. Of course, it centers around the 2026 World Cup, which kicks off in June. 48 teams, including the U.S. men's national team, will compete for the World Cup trophy. The men will also have Concacaf Nations League in the fall, and the women's national team will have World Cup qualifying this fall as well. As I normally do over at Stars and Stripes FC when the calendar flips to the next year, we have some predictions for both the men's national team and the women's national team. Some are bold, some are crazy, some may be more achievable than others, but we set our predictions now, and hopefully on December 31st, we can look back and see how right or wrong we are. So we will do both the men's and women's predictions. We'll start with the men's national team. Of course, much of it is centered around the World Cup, which will be the biggest sports tournament in world history. With that, we make some predictions about what we think the U.S. men's national team will do in 2026. And let's begin with this one. The first prediction, at least 5 players from the 2025 January camp who are either uncapped or only had one cap will make the World Cup roster. Now, this prediction is centered around the fact that January camp is normally where mainstays on the national team get their first shot. So take a look at that January camp last year, and for the men's side, it will be the final January camp, as they're no longer doing them. They're going to move the camp to December and kind of align better with winter breaks and the new shifting of Major League Soccer's calendar. But take a look at that 2025 January camp roster. 5 of those players that entered that camp with 0 or 1 international cap will find themselves representing this nation on the World Cup roster. That's a prediction. Again, you may consider that bold, you may consider that not, but at least there's some method to my madness with some of these predictions. Prediction number 2. At least 3 players from the March 2025 roster will not make the World Cup roster. Conventional wisdom says that the final window before a World Cup roster is named, that roster is basically who we're going to get. However, there will be some players who may leave a final lasting impression, and others they may not be so lucky. Obviously, there's always a potential for injury as well. I'm leaving that part out of it, but, hopefully our guys remain healthy, but that's not always going to be the case. But there will be at least 3 guys from that roster that takes on Belgium and Portugal that will not see their names on the World Cup roster. This might be one of the bolder ones that I have. Prediction number 3. A U.S. player will win the World Cup Golden Boot. Yeah, that's a prediction. I know there's a ton of great goal scorers who will come to these shores for the World Cup. Lionel Messi, Kylian Mbappe, Erling Haaland, those type of players. World-class, generational players. However, I think that the Golden Boot winner will be one of our own, a U.S. men's national team player. I don't know who, because we, want to kind of leave some stuff to imagination or thought, but someone in a U.S. uniform will be the Golden Boot winner. And keep in mind that it's not like they have to score, 15 goals for that to happen. A lot of Golden Boots are won with 5, 6, 7 goals. And that could be part of a very successful group stage. And then hopefully, I think we all agree, hopefully, a long run in the knockout stage, maybe even to the final to win this thing. Prediction number 4. The U.S. men's national team will play in the CONCACAF Nations League group stage and dominate. Now, this is kind of a weird prediction because CONCACAF Nations League will resume in the fall, and over the past 2 cycles, CONCACAF has gone with a different format, and that was mainly set up because of the fact that the United States, Mexico, and Canada were hosting the World Cup, and they wanted to reserve time to get some big time friendlies to help prepare their club, while everyone else was in World Cup qualifying or in Concacaf Nations League or UEFA Nations League or what have you. And so they were out of the group stage part of it. They had a direct line to the quarterfinals, which was kind of set up again for this format. Now, it is likely that they return to the format that they started off with in 2019, which saw every team compete in the group stage. That would mean that the United States would play in League A group stage once again. So, fresh off the summer, a successful summer, they get to Nations League and they dominate. They go unblemished against their opponents. They win every game and they advance again to the Nations League finals, hopefully with a chance to reclaim the trophy that they lost earlier in 2025. Our next prediction. The U.S. men's national team will get 7 points to win Group D. Now, remember, Group D, Paraguay, Australia, and a third opponent that will be one of Turkey, Romania, Slovakia, or Kosovo. Each of those teams are formidable opponents. Each match will be difficult. But I think the United States will have their wits about them. They'll be motivated. They'll be locked in, focused. And Mauricio Pochettino is going to have them ready. And it's not going to be a situation where the host kind of struggles during the group stage. At least this host. I won't say the same for Canada or Mexico. May they fare well. But the U.S. men's national team are going to get 2 wins and a draw on that final match day because they will have already clinched the group. And they'll get that draw to make 7 points and be atop Group D. That's my prediction. And the final prediction. The United States will advance to at least the semifinals of the 2026 World Cup. The semifinals. Whether the team ends up winning that semifinal to play in the World Cup final on July 19th, or if they have to settle for the third place match on July 18th, this bold prediction is that this team is ready to inspire us all. And that inspiration will come on the soccer field. It will come in how they play these games. Again, they'll make some games look fairly easy, but they're going to play a beautiful style of soccer that's going to unite all of us fans around them. And that wave, that momentum, carries them to at least the semifinals of this World Cup, which means they would play 8 games. Because once you make the semifinals, you're guaranteed 2 more, whether it's the semifinal and the final or the semifinal and the third place match. The United States will play 8 games in this World Cup. They will get to at least the semifinal, and from there, anything can happen. So those are my predictions for the men's national team. Let's pause here, though. We will discuss the predictions for the women's national team on the other side of this break. Stick around. Hey everyone, are you looking for the latest gear for your U.S. national teams, Major League Soccer, the NWSL, or any other team in the world of soccer? The USA Soccercast has affiliate partnerships that are ready to help you out. Head to linktree.com/USA Soccercast, where we have links to Homage, Fanatics, the MLS Store, and Breaking Team. You can get the jersey, shirt, hat, or accessory you're looking for to support your team, while also saving some money and helping this show in the process. Again, linktree.com/USA Soccercast. Click on the links and get your gear. And we thank you as always for your support of the show. We are back on the USA Soccercast, and we're doing predictions for this pivotal year, 2026. We shift our attention to the women's national team, who will kick off 2026 with January camp later this month in Southern California. It may be done for the men, but the women will be in January camp against Paraguay and Chile. Their year builds up to the Concacaf W Championship in November. And with that in mind, let's get into some of the predictions we have for them. The first one that I have, it's a pretty simple one. The U.S. women's national team will make quick and easy work of World Cup qualifying. Now, the Concacaf W Championship takes place in November, as I mentioned. It serves as both qualifying for the 2027 Women's World Cup and the 2028 Summer Olympics. The United States, since LA is the host, will not have to qualify for the Olympics. So, them getting to the final will qualify them for the Women's World Cup and the Olympics, but since they've already qualified, some other team will get that qualification spot. But qualifying for the World Cup will be something they take seriously. This is something that they have been building towards for the better part of 2 years, ever since Emma Hayes took over. Emma Hayes has kind of retooled the player pool. She's given so many players opportunities, and they're going to build up to this point where they go into the CONCACAF W Championship with some teams that have vastly improved. Canada, we knew, was already good. Mexico was getting better. Jamaica is getting better. Costa Rica is getting better. So there's several teams that have shown themselves to be formidable opponents. And the United States is not going to take that lightly. They're going to go in, they're going to dominate, and they will emerge as the winner of the CONCACAF W Championship and qualify for the 2027 Women's World Cup. The next prediction I have for them is that they will only lose once this year. As we move towards qualifying, Emma Hayes is going to have to start focusing more on results rather than development. And the team will respond. So over the course of the year, they're probably going to play a lot of decent teams to really tough teams. And they will only drop one of those games. They'll win the rest or draw the rest, but they will only have one loss on their record when the calendar flips to 2027. That's my prediction. The next prediction we have: the U.S. women's national team will beat 2 European teams on the road. I think with the change in calendars, there's not as many opportunities for the women to travel. But there is going to be at least one window where the U.S. women's national team, again, part of my prediction, decides to go on the road. They'll head to Europe for a pair of big-time friendlies against teams who have a break in World Cup qualifying. And they will go on the road and they will come back with 2 wins. Again, I don't think they're going to lose but only one game. And essentially what I am thinking is that the European teams that we play on the road are going to be part of the win column, not part of the loss column. Our next prediction: the United States women's national team will score 55 goals, with one player scoring at least 10. Last year, I predicted that they would score 60 goals, which was very bold. They ended up scoring 41, which is still very good. But they had some more difficult times along the way. And again, last year was really about Emma Hayes bringing along players and seeing what they can do, expanding the player pool, making it more robust, getting some depth in our lineup. We had some injuries that kept some regulars off of the national team for quite a while, namely Naomi Girma, Trinity Rodman, Katerina Macario was coming back from injury. So we had some players that were out due to pregnancy, Sophia Wilson now, and Mallory Swanson. So you have some of those players coming back. And I think when they come back, they're going to come back with a vengeance. And they're going to come back with renewed vigor and renewed momentum. So I think 55 goals is in play here. If they play 20 games, that's still less than 3 per game. But there's going to be games where they score 6+ goals. And that will help them a long way. And one player, Katerina Macario, was just shy of that. She had 8 last year. She led all women's national team and men's national team players in goals scored. But I think someone gets to the 10 mark in 2026. The next prediction I have is a simple one. The United States women's national team will return to number 1 in the world. Right now, they're number 2. They're about 50 points behind Spain, who's currently number 1. And I think that will change by the end of 2026. They will reclaim the number one spot heading into the Women's World Cup year of 2027. Next prediction, Emma Hayes will play 50 different players in 2026. I mentioned earlier that there's going to be a point where Emma Hayes is going to have to focus on the results on the field and less on the development of players. She's going to have to figure out who her players are going to be and go with that team, at least for the short term, to get through qualifying, and then beyond that to get ready for the Women's World Cup, again, assuming we qualify, and that's no guarantee. But she's going to give all of these players that she's kind of given chances on the national team, she's going to give them an opportunity to impress. And so that will create a lot of competition for World Cup qualifying roster spots, and then eventually in 2027 as well. But you'll see a lot more of that in the first part of the year. Emma Hayes, I think, will play 50 different players in 2026. And the final prediction that I have for the women's national team is that they will defeat somebody in the top 5 of the FIFA rankings. Some team is going to face the women's national team while they're in the top 5 of the world rankings. And of course, that's going to shift throughout the year. What it looks like right now, it's not necessarily the way it may look at the end of the year. But at the time that a top 5 team plays the United States will beat one of them. They may not have that many opportunities to face a top 5 team because, again, World Cup qualifying is going to happen. And unless Canada makes a complete leap up into the top 5, there may not be a lot of chances. She Believes Cup, we'll see who the opponents are going to be for that tournament. That might be the best chance to get somebody in the top 5 before World Cup qualifying kind of consumes the rest of the world. But they will take advantage of that opportunity, and they will beat somebody in the top 5 of the FIFA rankings. So that's it. That's our predictions for 2026. Hopefully we are right on all of them in a positive way. And with 2026 now here, I want to build this show up. And I have some things that I want to do to bring content to you all throughout the year, especially during the World Cup. As I mentioned, it's going to be arguably the biggest year in American soccer history. It's going to be the busiest year in American soccer history, that's for sure. And you can help by sharing this show with your friends and anyone else that you know will be interested in the World Cup and the men's national team and the women's national team. Doesn't have to be diehards, doesn't have to be fanatics. They could be casual fans or they could be new fans. They could be those fans that are showing up because it's a World Cup year, because next year is a Women's World Cup, because 2028 is the Olympics. Whatever their reasons for being here, they're all welcome. Everyone can listen to this podcast and hopefully get something out of it each time. That's my goal for each and every one of you. And the more impressions we get, the greater our reach. You can send us questions. You can send us topic suggestions on social media. I want to respond to the big stories and topics that you're all debating in your friend groups, at matches, and online. There's no point in talking about stuff that you don't want to learn about or something that you're not interested in. If you're interested in a topic for the U.S. men's national team, say something. And this is what the show is for. We can discuss it. We can talk about it. And finally, you can support us by sharing our links on Linktree, our stimulus store. Again, we have new stuff in the stimulus store, so go check that out. They help keep the show going. It takes care of all of the related podcast expenses that we have, that every podcast has. So all that's left to do is make the episodes. And so let's make 2026 the best year of our lives and the best soccer year we've ever had. But that will do it for episode 168 of the USA Soccer Cast. Thank you for listening. Remember, you can find us on Blue Sky. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on YouTube. Follow us on all those sites at USA Soccer Cast. Subscribe, rate, and review our shows. It helps us get in front of new people, and it's greatly appreciated. Tell your friends about us. And then finally, head to linktree.com/USA Soccercast to check out our affiliate links and our stimulus store. We have everything you need to watch the beautiful game and follow your teams, and using those links also helps support the show. We'll talk to you again soon, y'all.